This show is a proud member of the Nerdy Legion Podcast Network. Get more at nerdylegion.com. Enjoy the show.
This is Brightside Home Theater.
Happy holidays, home theater nerds. Welcome to the Brightside Home Theater Podcast, a podcast that's all about the sights, the sounds, the scenes, and the people. And we got people today to go along with the sights, the sounds, and the scenes. But before we get to the people we have today, let's get this stuff out of the way. If you're not already subscribed here on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. And you can also support this podcast by going to patreon.com/Brightside Home Theater. Follow the instructions. More on that on Tuesdays, the Tuesday podcast where the listener takes over. You can also follow me on Twitter at BrightsideHT, or any information at all about this podcast. You can go to brightsidehometheater@gmail.com. Check that out. Very festive now over there, so check all of that out. So now that we've gotten all that out of the way, let's get to sights, sounds, scenes, and people with this great holiday classic, Iron Man 3. Hey, Brent, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, DJ. I'm pretty good. Good Thanksgiving weekend. Good little bit of free time to spend with my doggie. Watching movies, because she sits right here on this.
There you go.
Every time I watch it, she loves it when I watch movies.
What's her name?
Her name is Missy. And she loves it when I watch movies because she just comes and sits down next to me. I put my hand on her, and that's like all the. That's all she really wants. She's pretty happy.
That's it. She just wants. That's what's great about dogs. They just want the love.
Yeah, she prefers the character studies.
I have three of them.
Oh, really? What do you got?
Oh, I have a full bred husky. Mm-hmm. I have a mini pin Yorkie mix.
Oh, wow.
My little guy Stanley.
Yeah.
And then we just adopted this summer. We adopted this. He's supposed to be like a Newfoundland type. He's little. He's not little, but for a Newfoundland, he's probably going to be about 30 to 50 pounds. They're saying.
Oh wow, that's
but he's
unusual.
The little terror of the house.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. But, he's a mix of a bunch of things. We adopted him out of Tennessee.
Oh, cool. She doesn't like the action movies as much because, she doesn't watch TV, but, if there's a loud noise, she kind of, once in a while, gets startled. But she likes more of the, your Woody Allen type of, Merchant Ivories, that kind of thing, the British tea and crumpets kind of stuff.
She's a refined dog.
Yeah, she's got very refined taste.
Very nice.
So,
all right. For those of you who are living under a rock and you don't know who Brent Butterworth is and you're into home theater, let me give you a quick background. If you didn't hear the last time he was on the podcast, I was introduced to Brent through Home Theater Magazine back in the 90s. Read all of his stuff there. Absolutely fell in love with with your review, Brent, of the way you gave it to you gave the perspective of the everyman, and you used, action movies like Terminator 2 to describe some of these products that we all would aspire to. So it really drew me in. Every time I saw your name, I wanted to read about it. Now you're with Wirecutter, Jazz Times, Highfalutin, Soundstage Solo, and and you even wrote for Bicycling Magazine, which we talked about last time.
I did.
You don't write for anybody, right?
And no, absolutely not. Because I've resigned clients, but
I'm just kidding.
Well, people that are too much of a pain, there's once in a while you find people that want you to do a bunch of rewrites and they don't really know what they want. And but I should also mention Audio Express, which I'm really proud of. That's a really super technical audio journal. And I'm doing a little bit of work for Voice Coil, which is like the super technical journal of the speaker industry, edited by one of my heroes, Vance Dickinson, who wrote the Loudspeaker Design Cookbook. And so I'm really proud to be involved with those things. And then, yeah, Wirecutter is a giant, giant chunk of my life. And then Soundstage, which is all, I just do headphone reviews for them and show coverage. And yeah, so it looks like I'll write for anybody because I write so much, but, there are plenty of publications that I would have no interest in writing
Oh, I
for.
know. I was just, but
So I'll start by naming them. No,
didn't you tell me last time? Yeah, I know. Didn't you tell me last time you even wrote for like Cigar Aficionado or something?
I wrote for Rob Report. I was the cigar writer for Rob Report for about 2 years. I did there's a really like a professional cigar writer named Richard Carlton Hacker who I worked with, who he really knew what he was doing. But I've been smoking for a long time. So they kind of dumped it on me because they didn't have an editor to do it. And they knew that I would do it for nothing. But I got a lot of trips to the Dominican Republic and Nicaragua and Honduras and fun places like that.
Ooh.
And the cigar people are a very, very extremely fun group of people to hang out with. Extremely fun. That's all they do.
Yeah, you said in the last time we talked, yeah, you met Stallone through that, didn't you?
I did. And
lots of fun.
I mean, it's not like we bonded or anything. But I met,
yes, you did.
But I've met a lot of people through this gig too. But I was more honored at the same cigar dinner where I met Stallone. I met Glenn Hughes, the former bass player for Deep Purple. So that was way more exciting to me.
Oh.
And, who like Joe Mantegna was there. There's a lot of celebrities in LA that are like into the cigar thing. So. Yeah, there were a lot, and it was fun. And they used to do these dinners at the top of the rooftop of the Peninsula Hotel by the pool there, and just like really, those people know how to live.
That's awesome.
So anyway, but so do audio people.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. So before we get to today's holiday classic. What have you reviewed lately that for the holiday season that would be interesting for the holiday season? I know I'm surprising you with this one because you thought you were just going to be talking about this great holiday classic, but anything pop to your head that you've reviewed lately for the holiday season?
I would say if you want to have a gift if you want to have the perfect gift for the audio enthusiasts who doesn't have a good set of headphones, the Hi-Fi Man HE 400 SE, which is an open back headphone, and they're $150, and they are absolutely fantastic.
Ooh.
I mean, really, that's a real serious high-end headphone for $150, and they're comfortable. And you probably can't plug them straight into. You can plug them straight into a phone, but you kind of need a little extra amplification. But you can get into these little, DAC amplifiers that plug into the phone. And that'll be fine. Or you can plug them into maybe your laptop will be a little more powerful. Or your whatever, if you have a preamp, or an AV receiver that has a headphone jack. They're just, I've recommended them to so many people, and like a bunch of guys when the Soundstage review ran, a bunch of guys from Soundstage went and bought them. They're all just like, oh my God, these are just the greatest. So $150 for a really, 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 a set of headphones that, there are headphones that beat them, but it's hard to beat them. And so that's my Christmas pick. And then I'm literally staring at about 6 sound bars and 10 pairs of speakers. And I'm trying to figure which ones I liked, but I'm trying to remember. I can't remember.
Don't list them off because the people that you didn't like.
Seriously, I can't. I can't remember. Oh, the Unz Angle.
Okay.
I think it's called the Unz Angle Mini. I could go run and get it. It's an Unz from like Cambridge Soundworks, right? And it's like this big. Yeah. It's a Bluetooth speaker, right? So it's this triangular looking job.
Oh, okay.
It's like a little triangle, but it's kind of long. It's about that long, and I think it's like $20 or $25.
About 6 inches.
Not even 6 inches.
Yeah.
It's like 4 inches. And it actually sounds really good. And it's like $20. You can get it for your kids or a stocking stuffer or somebody in the office that you don't know what to get them for Secret Santa. because like anybody can use it, and you can put it in your office and use it for your office speaker, and it actually sounds pretty good. And give it to your kids for a kid speaker, give it to anybody, because anybody, or use it in the bathroom, whatever. I think it's like IPX something rated. So, you could just get so many different uses out of it, and maybe you'll destroy it or lose it, but it was like $20. So there you go.
$20. Yeah.
There's two good holiday recommendations. Real world holiday recommendations.
Sorry about surprising you.
Not like go buy this $10,000 preamp or something. I hate Christmas gift guides. They're like, go buy this thing for $5,000. Like, oh, come on, give me a break. Anyway, so I've had to write those many times.
Yeah. For the holiday fan. Yeah. My wife and I were just talking about that the other day, and she's like, you're so hard to buy for, because especially at this point in my theater and my hobbies, I'm at the point where now you're refining everything and you're getting into the higher end stuff. And she goes, I can't buy that. One, she can't pick it out. And two, she's like, I'm not spending that kind of money on something that, I was on a whim. So it is tougher when you start to get into the higher end stuff, but.
Yeah, and plus you have to buy it yourself, and but people can always buy you coffee or a bottle of whatever you like to drink.
Yeah,
there's still that, and then you can enjoy that with your home theater. So,
yes, yeah, well, been doing that a lot. All right, let's get to this holiday classic. This is what everybody's been dying to hear about. I'm saying that facetiously. So Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
And you and I talked way back in September about this. We were going to do a Halloween movie. Our schedules didn't work. And I'm like, let's do a Christmas movie together. And we came up with Iron Man 3. And here's why I think it's going to be so much fun. What do you think of Iron Man 3?
I just have to point out, I love the way you said that, because it sounded like Gilbert Gottfried. Iron Man 3. But anything he says is funny, I think. But so I have to, you and I talked about this last time we chatted, and I have to revise my previous statement that it sucked, because I watched it, and here's my big problem with so many of these Marvel movies. I watch them, and it so often seems like I've seen it before. And I honestly can't remember if I've seen it before, because there's so many common threads going through it. And a lot of it's kind of the same-ish, And so, and then all these different stories fit into some giant master plan, which I missed a lot of parts of. So, skipped a lot of parts of, not missed. And so I find it kind of, that's one of my problems with this. And so I was watching this and kind of like, I remember seeing some of this, but I don't really remember it all that well. And I'm thinking, like, did I fall asleep during it? Did I, because all my movie watching is late at night, and occasionally I do fall asleep. Did I fall asleep? Did I like give up halfway through on it? What did I do? But there's so much similarity between these things; it's hard to tell. So, but I have to say, I watched it over the holiday weekend, and I liked it. I thought this was in the upper 50% of Marvel movies. So I'm sorry to disappoint you.
That's going against the grain.
This isn't going to be a fire hose of snark. I will actually have some good things to say about this movie. It's me, so I'm going to be snarky at times, but I actually have some good things to say about this movie.
That's what I was hoping.
It doesn't suck. It's a long way from, it's definitely way better. I mean, some of these Marvel movies are just like, oh my God, this is just unwatchable. But to me, I mean, my opinion, but in this case, I thought, my attention was focused on the screen, and I didn't. One thing I loved about it was that one thing I liked about it, appreciated about it, was that I didn't lose track of the story. So many things, like, wait, who's that guy? And wait, why is this guy coming in? Right. Oh, now they've introduced a new villain. Now they've introduced some other new superhero, and now there's all these people, and I can't remember which one's which. And with this one, I didn't, especially if they have people who kind of look alike-ish. With this one, I was able to keep all the characters clear. I could tell who was bad and who was good. And except for, in one case where one guy turns out to be not really so bad.
Yep.
And then, it was just easy for me to follow, and it wasn't jumping all over the place, and it wasn't a bunch of, and there wasn't you don't really have to know much of the Marvel backstory to enjoy this. I think you could just jump right in with all of this stuff. And well, it's like, they do harken back to the attack on New York which I saw that movie. I don't know which one it was, but there's like some kind of weird bug thing flying over New York and knocking buildings over and stuff. And
Avengers.
Okay. And so like half of New York was destroyed, and yay, we beat the bad guy. And 500,000 people died or whatever. But so it alludes back to that, but that is not really critical to the story. It's just like, it just tells you that Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr., Tony Stark, has some issues, some a little, sort of PTSD-ish kind of issues. Yep. So I'm babbling a little bit. So basically, I don't think it sucked. I have some nice things to say about it. I'll find some bad things to say about it, but it's, because there's so much stupid in movies nowadays, and maybe that reflects the culture, maybe that reflects, I don't know what, but this was not, like the last scene where some of the dialogue is too much like stupid action movie dialogue. Like, there's like things whizzing around them and bullets flying all over the place, and they're Robert Downey Jr. or I should say Tony Stark and Don Cheadle. What's his character's actual name? The Don Cheadle guy. Yeah. They're like delivering these like pithy, witty lines to each other, blah 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 blah, and like giant missile comes right past them and stuff, and some dude with a glowing red hand is kind of like on him, and yet meanwhile they're just like, they have time and the focus to think up all these really witty lines that came, that of course
they're so well trained,
right? Who's well trained is the writers who worked on this. The room full of writers who worked on this movie and polished the dialogue, which, granted, it's a movie. I know I'm supposed to suspend disbelief. But anyway, I'd like to hear your commentary. I'm tired of talking.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's funny that you say it's in the top 50%, because most of MCU fans rank this fairly low. Mm-hmm. And I would say that even myself, I have it fairly low in the MCU movies, but for me in particular, it's like, I look at these movies about the environment and like how much fun you have with the explosions and with the action, and how much fun it is to sit down and just enjoy it. And to your point of, it's easy to follow along. You can leave your brain at the door, because it doesn't take a brain to follow this story along, even though it does have a nice twist to it, and but it's a fairly easy twist to follow. And I just love these movies for fun. They're just so much fun. And that's everything that you just said. I think that's where, if you were to watch all of the Marvel movies again, you would probably rank it down towards the bottom, because there are better. But I think, like what you said, like after watching them as they come out, and you're used to, like, you're a more sophisticated guy. Your dog's more sophisticated than I am. So
that's probably true.
So yeah, I know it's true. It's like,
she's more sophisticated than most mammals.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's like, I enjoy them, and I enjoy them for the experience, and that's what my podcast is about. So that's where I lean.
Yeah.
But like what you did, you sat down just to watch this, and you're just like, all right, we're going to do this and I'll watch it this weekend. And lo and behold, you got sucked in by just the fact that it's just entertainment. And that sounds like what your description was.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Well, it is. But, to me, the biggest thing, the problem with so many of these movies, and so many movies in general, but nowadays, but some of these Marvel movies is I don't care about the characters. And with this, no. Did I care as much about these characters as I did about, E.T.? No. But I did care. It's like I could tell who the bad guys and the good guys were. And I actually did feel like I wanted the good guys to win, as opposed to so often, it's like, so often I turn off a movie because I'm like, I don't know who I'm supposed to be rooting for here. And I know there's all this trendy sort of ambivalence, it's very sophisticated, but I get that kind of gets boring to me. But I have to say, maybe my estimation of this is, I'm sure it is greatly affected by the fact that I hated Iron Man 2 so badly. And mainly because that's one of the classic...
Well, what we're doing next.
Well, so many of these Marvel things, it's like they around about...
Right.
I guess it was probably about hang on, let me get my timeline right. Sometime around 2000 or 2005 or somewhere in there, they decided, oh, you know what? We're out of ideas. We'll just throw more characters onto the screen. Well, and we'll just throw more crap on the screen, more effects, more stuff. And it's, that Avengers movie with the metal worm thing was kind of like that. There's just so much crap on the screen. And I just find that to be, it's dazzling, but I'm not really looking for that personally. And obviously it works. These people are making a lot more money than me. So, and they're making a lot more money than probably any company I've ever worked for. So that's good. But I just think that it's kind of, it's like it's almost like the rock band Kiss, it's kind of like a lot of razzle dazzle and maybe not that much actual meat on the bones, I kind of like Kiss, but
absolutely,
Kiss is not your place to go for any, depth. Kiss is a dopamine hit, not serotonin hit. It's all about excitement. It's not about long-term satisfaction and long-term, so anyway, I'm really rambling. That's great. I just thought this was better. I just thought Iron Man 2, it's like, oh my God, they just keep amping up the number of CGI things that they put. And in this case, the CGI things, first of all, the CGI was really good, I have to say. Because there's a lot going on in this movie. And not just the CGI of things flying around, but CGI of buildings getting blown up and stuff was really, really well done. It really didn't seem like CGI at all. But in this case, when they start throwing a bunch more Iron Men on the screen, it all makes sense. And I just felt like I just had a good day, but I just really liked it better. And I didn't, I was looking down your list of scenes, just like replaying the movie in my mind. And I was like, yeah, those were good scenes. That was pretty creative. And, that scene do you want to go into one of the scenes now?
Absolutely.
Or do you want to
knock yourself out?
Do you want to go to a strict timeline?
No. We could jump all around.
Okay.
Let's go.
The scene, spoiler alert.
Yep.
A bomb goes off.
Spoilers. The popcorn is popping. We're getting into spoilers.
Yeah. So something explodes in this movie. You didn't see that coming, did you? That was quite a plot twist.
No.
So, but at 2950, you pointed out, where something explodes and Tony Stark wants to recreate the explosion. And I don't think they really clarified where he got the data to do that. I assume it was from security cameras. But So they go and recreate the explosion and like where the explosion originated. And he's walking. It's like this, a virtual sort of hologram wireframe thing of like the whole scene and all the people lying around and everything. And you really and he's walking around in it. And I was just looking at that going like, how'd they do that? I mean, I can figure out how they put like a giant metal bug thing on this flying across the screen. But how they do that scene, that's really complicated and sophisticated CGI, even though it wasn't photorealistic, which is its own set of challenges. But it was really creative and interesting and dazzling, and it seems like something that a genius like Tony Stark would be able to pull off, and that only he would be able to pull off. So I thought that was a very cool scene. I didn't like the scene. You mentioned also the scene where the villain, another spoiler alert, the guy who turns out to be the villain is with Gwyneth Paltrow, Pepper Potts, and they're standing there and they're like in a virtual image of his brain, and that was cool too. Yeah. That was kind of similar in execution, I would say. I just thought that dude was really creepy. So, but then again, he's supposed to be creepy because I'm supposed to hate him. I'm supposed to hate him, and I'm supposed to want him to die in the movie, which I did. He didn't die soon enough for me or in a grisly enough fashion, but still, that was cool. But I just really, the fact that Tony Stark was really like, as opposed to something kind of just happening around you, Tony Stark was like interacting with the environment. I just thought that was way cool. Really cool. Of course, somebody, although wait a minute, this movie's been out for a while, so I was about to say, 5 movies are going to copy it, but I haven't seen it copied. Of course, I don't see everything. But.
No, I think this one, if I remember right, is like 2012, 2013. I don't have it in front of me right now.
Is it that old?
It's that old, yeah.
Wow.
It came out shortly after Avengers, which came out in 2011, I think, or 2012, if I remember that right. Let me see. Iron Man 3, 2013.
Okay.
So, yeah. But the reason both of those scenes that you mentioned, I noted, and I noted, like you said, the bomb recreation, and I showed you have my notes, and I showed you. So instead, for the listeners that know, I give boxes of popcorn. Well, it's the holidays, so I'm giving Christmas trees. And the bomb recreation that you mentioned, I gave 3 Christmas trees, but it was mostly for exactly like you said. It was for the HDR and the special effects, and that when he's walking around his lab like that, if you have really good HDR, it looks practically 3D.
Yeah.
And the depth and you know what else I liked is that when he's walking around his little lab area and he has all of these holograms going on around him, he's walking up and down desks and stuff, and you see it, and that adds. I felt having an uneven floor for him to walk around added to the depth of those holograms, because they went through and over everything around him just to recreate that scene. Like when he went to see Happy, his buddy there that was in the explosion, and he's pointing and he walks over to that. So it was like to scale, and he's walking around his lab and around stuff, and just the holograms and the depth that you perceived through your screen. Now I'm watching this on a 110-inch screen with a nice projector and really nice, as nice a HDR image as I can get. And it looked just so good. Looks so, 3D. And I really, really liked it. And I thought it was a very immersive scene that allowed you to just be like in that. And the same with that human brain one that you mentioned. That one's at 14 minutes and 40 seconds. I gave that 1 Christmas tree, but it was along the same idea. And what I also liked, I'm like, did they do that as a nod to like you're inside a Christmas tree? Because they were inside his brain, and it would be like if you stood inside a lit Christmas tree. It kind of gave me that vibe.
It did
but
kind of.
I'm a very Christmassy guy.
It did look like that. it was just all these lights all around you, and then of
Yeah.
course his you see his brain impulses actually happening in real time. But that dude was pretty slimy. Um, and I
Oh
just,
yeah.
I'm the older I get, the more I kind of like, happy, not slimy dudes, not slimy dudes that I'm supposed to hate.
Yeah, no, exactly. And you start to have less tolerance for people, right?
Well,
That's how I feel.
I
I don't.
less and more. I think you get older, and when you watch movies, you can't help but have your perception of the movie reflect your you know evolving perception of life. And
Right.
now that I'm older, I'm quicker to go like, when you're young, you might find some slimy dude, fascinating and think, oh, he's got something cool going on. But you get older, you're like, yeah, I'm not fooling with that dude. And that's kind of like the reaction that I have to that guy. But I was supposed to react like that to him, and you know, uh, and also he's kind of like a young Val Kilmer, kind of in looks, and
Yeah.
yeah, and Val Kilmer was in some not so awesome movies for my taste. And the guy just he was just fighting all of my biases and prejudices, and he just couldn't get past it. But he was supposed to be the bad guy. I was supposed to hate him. I hated him. Job well done.
Yeah. Exactly. He
So
nailed it.
yeah,
Let's go. Next scene I'd like to talk about the 5-minute mark, and it's just really, really quick. This is why I call it a Christmas movie, and you're 5 minutes into the movie, and you're in Tony's lab, and he says, "Drop the needle" to his little robot over
yeah,
there, and "Dashing Through the Snow" comes on. I forget who the artist was. It was real jazzy kind of dashing through
yeah,
this play. And while he's trying to armor up, remember, and like all the equipment's flying at him around the room, but there's Christmas trees in his lab. You got Dashing Through the Snow playing, just a very like holiday theme, but yet you still have that great surround sound going on with the gear flying at him. And of course the humor, because, Tony Stark is just, he's very quippy and a
yeah.
lot of fun to listen to. So 5 minutes in and you're like, this is a Christmas movie. This is fun. And if you're like me and love Christmas, it's like, I got to watch it every year.
Yeah, and the stuff, and that's another thing that, it's hard to do, to make all it, because it looks so real. And to make all that look so real like that, to make it look completely, in that scene in particular, you don't ever, because they're, for the benefit of the audience here, who haven't seen the movie, the bits of the Iron Man, he's trying to like use the Force sort of and call the glove to him by kind of going like that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but all these things are flying all around him, and sometimes they're going on him and attaching themselves, and sometimes they're not. And it's just so complicated, and yet total suspension of disbelief. It never dawned on me that was CGI until you mentioned it. I'm like,
right.
Oh, well, yeah, that wasn't real. Obviously it wasn't real, but it's like it just doesn't really hit you. Whereas there's still a lot of movies where, what was I watching? The Harrison Ford remake of well, he didn't remake it. Whoever remade the Call of the Wild, and Harrison Ford was in it. The one with the dog, and the dog turns feral.
Yep.
And that dog just looked so fake and awful and cartoonish that I couldn't watch the movie. It was just too much of an uncanny valley thing for me. Whereas there's none of that in this movie. This movie all looks real, and none of this movie's real. Except for the people in it.
Exactly.
There's so little in this movie that is real. It is almost all CGI.
Yeah, exactly. But the difference, to be fair, there is we all know what dogs look like. So you've got to nail it to sell it, right?
Good.
Whereas
point.
Iron Man's armor that you
Good
can have
point.
I don't know if that's real or not.
Very good
So
point. I'm trying to think
I
of.
learned that in school.
Yeah, well, did
Yeah, I learned that.
in Star Wars, did the fake Leia and the fake Grand Moff Tarkin freak you out? You know what I'm talking about, right? Because they
Yes, I
CG'd them.
do.
Since the actors were dead, they CG'd them.
Yeah,
And did that freak you out?
yeah.
Freaked me out a little bit too.
Not. It only freaked. Leia did. Leia freaked me out. Tarkin did not, and here's why. To me, I know this from school, and when we were when I was in college and drawing, doing self portraits and stuff. Everybody, like, somebody asks you to do a self-portrait and you do the image that, like, the lineup image, you do the straight on image, like staring at the screen, and you just draw what you see straight on. That is the hardest image to draw because you have less lines to deal with, because it's all flat. You've got to try and curve everything. But if you turn your head slightly and make a face, you end up with wrinkles and a slight profile that allows you. It actually makes it easier. So what I used to do is I'd turn my head and one of my self-portraits, I actually like scrunchiled my face like this, like angry. And everybody loved it because it was different. It wasn't that lineup look. But what it was is I wasn't doing it to be creative. I was doing it to create more lines to make it easier to draw. So what I'm saying about the Star Wars thing is they were trying to recreate a young Leia, and a young woman has very little lines in her face. And Tarkin was an older man at the time who had a lot of features to draw. You know what I mean? So I thought the only thing on Tarkin that was tough was he was a little too shiny.
Yeah.
But they'll get better with that. But the reason I think Tarkin looked a little bit better is just because they had more to draw. They had more lines to deal with.
Good points. Really, really good points. But yeah, you're right about the dog. I can't think of I think I've probably seen some CGI wolves that were pretty convincing somewhere. But I guess the dog was hard to do. Although I have to say, it was not even like not so good. It was like Polar Express level fake dog, which Polar Express level is about as
and that's
low.
That's tough.
That's the bottom of the barrel. That's like so creepy you can't watch it. And I couldn't watch it.
But that was the whole theme of that movie.
Yeah, but I still couldn't. Yeah. I just thought it was. I just didn't. I know, but I just hated it. I just hated it. It's in the uncanny valley, and so it freaks me out. And so, it's sort of like when you see people with too much makeup on. It's the same thing. Or with too much plastic surgery.
Exactly.
It's you can't help but freak you out.
Yeah, because know something's wrong.
Yeah.
Something's wrong. It doesn't look natural.
Audience, you will not have that problem with Iron Man 3. Not at all. No uncanny valley here.
Not at all.
So.
All right. I did the last scene. Do you have any other scenes on this list that you'd like to talk about?
Oh, I'm sure.
Or do you want me to start ripping them?
Dude.
Well, we could go every other. Just pick one and we'll go.
Okay. Human brain we've talked about. Turn on the TV is kind of lo-fi. Bomb recreation we talked about.
Yeah, that's what I liked about it.
I can't remember the attack. I do have my TV on, so I can reference these scenes if I have to.
Oh, attack. At 34:20, I gave it 2 Christmas trees. Yeah, and it runs. Oh, this is the attack on his house. When
that was great.
When the helicopters.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
That was absolutely amazing.
And it goes, I wrote till, it goes over 5 minutes. It started at 34 minutes and 20 seconds, and it goes to 39 minutes and 40 seconds. Tons of discrete sounds around your room. Great pans because you have missiles flying and everything. You have debris flying around your room. It it had really nice bass, but I would say this movie didn't have great bass throughout. It had nice bass, but not the rumble that I would have liked. But this scene in particular, it's probably, if it had really good bass, like a blockbuster should, I probably would have given it 3, Christmas trees. But because the bass was a little lacking, I only gave it 2. But this scene lasts a long time. It's a lot of fun.
It's really an amazing scene because you really don't. First of all, I love the way that they choreograph the action again, which is all fake, but they choreograph the action to where you can actually follow it. You can actually see what's happening, as opposed to so many of these things like and you can't tell what's happening. It was really complicated what was going on, but you could follow the action, and it was way cool. When she's looking at that monitor and you see the missile, coming in, it's really neat. And you didn't expect this attack to happen at all. And then you really don't know what's going to happen all the way through it. And it's also just kind of, it's one of those moments like the very first time in Star Trek where they actually, destroyed the Enterprise. And you're kind of like, how could they destroy the Enterprise? I think that was Star Trek 3. The one between 2. Yeah, the one between 2 and 4. That was 3. But yeah, so they like destroyed the Enterprise, right? Is that the one with but see, then after that they kept destroying the Enterprise like every other movie. But so the fact that Tony's house gets destroyed, his awesome cool house just gets like blown to smithereens. And the only ridiculous thing about that is I have enough faith in the U.S. Coast Guard to think that you probably couldn't just like fly in with some helicopters that are armed with heavy duty military weapons and start railing on something, especially since Point Mugu Naval Air Station is like 15 miles from there. So you might be on their radar. I'm just saying it's entirely possible. And I don't know what they're packing at Point Mugu, but they probably got, some screaming planes, some fighter planes that could be there in literally like 15 seconds and rip all those things to shreds with one pass. But whatever, you got to suspend your disbelief. It's not this isn't science, but still,
I love that that and that you're bringing that into the story. That like when you're watching it, you're like, I know there's a base, right? Because I'm not from that. I have no idea about that area. I have no idea.
It's 17 miles that way. It's right over there. I used to work. Home Theater Magazine was based in Malibu on Point Dume, which is wherever Tony's house actually would have been. It's not a real. Well, it must be a real place, but wherever his house would have been is right around where Home Theater Magazine was. And the guy who owned Home Theater Magazine, Bill Curtis, lived about 4 miles north on Broad Beach, which is a lot of super, super fancy houses. I think like Danny DeVito lived next to him. Great story that you don't know. Great story, relevant to this movie. This is so awesome. Okay. So Bill Curtis founded Home Theater Magazine and owned it. And great, really just great guy, one of the best people I ever worked with. And so he had this house on Broad Beach, and it was one of these houses where all you see from the road is a garage, 3 or 4 car garage, and you go down an elevator to get into the house. And there's like, I don't know, there was like one floor that was the guest bedrooms and one floor that was the main floor, and then another floor that was 3 or 4 floors. And, you go out and the beach was just like right there. Right. So, you walk down, they had like a little pool, a little porch, a couple of little patios and a little pool. And you'd sit there and you could just walk down straight onto the beach. And so, Bill's wife walked in the house one night, and I guess she had the kids with her, and And the son goes into Daniel goes into his room, and there's a guy sleeping in his room. And
Uh-oh.
so they call the cops because there's some guy sleeping in his room. And, I don't.
Just some guy.
Yeah, maybe in that part of Malibu, you don't lock your doors or whatever. But anyway, so this guy had somehow found his way into the house and was just sleeping in the room. And they tried to wake him up, and he was not wake upable. And so they called the cops, and the cops came and got him. And it turned out to be Robert Downey Jr. This is his pre-Iron Man days. So back when he was having some substance abuse issues. So
yeah.
And Lisa, Bill's wife, had no idea who he was. That was before Iron Man. Iron Man kind of, made the guy into a megastar, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, he was in like those Brat Pack movies.
Yeah, it rejuvenated. Yeah. Well, he was a pretty big star that went away. Like and then he came back. I think his first movie back was U.S. Marshals. One of his first movies back that was the sequel to The Fugitive. And he was, do you remember that one?
Was like Tommy Lee Jones in it?
Tommy Lee Jones, yes, was the lead.
I think I missed that.
He was the guy from The Fugitive, obviously.
Is it any good?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. It was a sequel. I like The Fugitive better, but I kind of like, it's also Wesley Snipes is the fugitive in U.S. Marshals, and Robert Downey Jr. plays kind of a slimy guy in that one. I had fun with it.
Well, perhaps I shall check it out.
There you go. And yeah, that was one of his first movies back, but yeah, he's dug himself out of quite a big hole that he had. And yeah, now is Iron Man. And it's not, I mean, here he goes from sleeping at somebody's house in Malibu to actually owning a place down the street as Tony Stark. Who knew? Yeah.
A bigger and even nicer place, I mean, that's a pretty spectacular thing. But I used to, for Home Entertainment Magazine, which was the successor to Home Theater, more or less, which Bill also owned. My gig as editor, we focused on a lot of custom installations and things like that. And so my gig as editor, a big part of my gig was to go visit these fancy home theaters, a lot of which are in Malibu, because Malibu has a lot of movie stars, and movie stars mostly have pretty great home theaters. And then, of course, all the studio execs live there, and the mind-blowing home theaters. And so I went in a whole lot of those houses and wrote about a whole lot of their home theaters. And gotta say, I'm not much of one for cars or fancy clothes or anything like that, but some of those houses are pretty great. I mean, so Tony's house is not, other than having the lab and the Iron Man suits, Tony's house was not anomalous. That's kind of the norm. It's pretty awesome.
Really? That's
crazy. Pretty great. Pretty great.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
To having, I mean, I know we're supposed to be talking Iron Man, but this is fascinating. Having experienced all of those theaters, and what does that do to you in your particular theater? And what you like? I know you said in the last podcast you've had different incarnations in theaters, but to me that it would hurt. You'd go home and be like, huh.
Okay, I shall express an opinion here.
Okay.
Some of those, just because a theater is expensive and custom installed and has fancy gear, doesn't mean that it sounds good. So some of those, CEDIA is the sort of governing body that all those custom installers belong to. And some of them are real, like, acoustics and audio experts, and some of them are more like, home automation experts. And so the quality of those installations from an audio standpoint varies a lot. And some of them were not so great. Some of them were amazing. Some of them, they're kind of all over the map. Some of them had not so great gear choices. And usually that was when the homeowner decided on the gear as opposed to letting the installer pick the gear. Because a lot of times the installers do know better, and the homeowner, has some favorite. Maybe they want to use some big Martin Logan speakers for their home theater, which is a lovely choice for stereo. Kind of dicey for home theater, frankly, but it works. But so a lot of those theaters, honestly, I really always felt like I could put together. I was reviewing a lot of the THX speaker systems back then, and a lot of which were not super expensive. Actually, most of which weren't super expensive, and you could get one of those for $5,000 or $6,000 or something, and you set those things up with some decent acoustic treatment in your room, and it's going to sound as good as any of those big rooms. So I didn't feel bad at all. There were a couple of them. That were so good and so over the top that where I was kind of like, "Boy, this is kind of awesome."
Yeah.
I went to one in Austin that was, God, they must have spent $1 million in that room easy. And it was all Cat MBX speakers, also all custom made to fit the spaces, and just EQ'd and tuned to absolute, not auto, not room correction. Like engineers went and did measurements all over the room and tuned it. And I think it had about 10 subwoofers. And whatever the state of the art like Runco projector was at the time. And I just remember thinking like, yeah, this is good. They got they spent a lot of money, but they got something really, really special here. So, but I really do believe that any enthusiast can go buy, there's so many brands sitting right here in my living room. Here's some Polks. Here's some Dalis. Here's some monoprice ones. Here's I can't even tell what half the stuff is because it's all turned. Its backs are all turned to me because I'm breaking in a giant pile of speakers. So, but you can go buy just well-made gear in a living room, and it doesn't have to play incredibly loud. And go buy a home theater receiver, and go buy 2 to 4 good, big honking powerful two of like the whatever the SVS model or like the Sue the 15-inch Sue. You go get 2 of those things.
Yep.
Whoa. I mean, and you just calibrate it decently with a mini DSP or whatever. And I mean, you can equal for an investment of, I don't know, 10 grand or maybe a little more. You can get very close to the best home theaters that have ever been built, in my opinion. So, I really believe
I know mine's more than that.
Enthusiasts, I really think enthusiasts who get Room EQ Wizard and learn their stuff can easily afford to equal the very best stuff out there. I really believe that. So
cool. And you've experienced it all. It's like I've been in theaters, not people's, but going to the places that'll demonstrate stuff, stores. And I think I told you before, one of the stores I went to, it was a house, and they had great demonstrations. And I've experienced some great demonstrations, and I've always tried to bring that home and equal it in my room. So I didn't get to experience homeowners' grand theaters, but experiencing a good sounding theater, I have done that. Let me tell you about this one quick. I've found a unicorn. I just did a theater, and I'm waiting for a few weeks for him to really enjoy it. I helped this guy put in a theater, and I said, well, when we started out, he just wanted to upgrade. He watches a lot of movies. He happens to do another podcast, and he just reached out to me about helping him. He didn't know if he wanted a sound bar or something else, but he wanted some better sound. So I was like, yeah, I can help you out. And I'm like, well, what's your budget? That's my first question. And he's like, well, I'm not afraid to invest a little money. He goes, but I'm really cheap. And I said, well, first off, if you're looking to invest, the soundbar isn't it, because that's it, one and done. And you're going to, so I kind of steered him towards a receiver, and actually SVS set the 5.1 setup. So the satellite, SVS satellite, when it comes with the mini sub, well, they're 1000 and SB 1000. So and the reason I call him a unicorn is because he's going from a 65-inch television, and that's it. He's been watching movies for years on his 65-inch TV with just the TV speakers.
Ooh.
And I can't wait to talk to him after a few weeks of experiencing a nicely. I tuned it. I did everything I could for his room. And yes, it's not the best theater in the world, but the jump from your speakers and a television, he's blown away.
Yeah.
It's going to be a blast for him.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's really great. It's just, I wish I could do this more, but my job requires me to constantly churn equipment. So
Right.
I haven't set up a 5.1 system I think I did it about 2 months ago. I can't
nice.
remember why, but yeah, I've got stuff. I've got lots of stuff. But normally, I just finished doing sound bars, except now I'm doing more sound bars. And I'm getting ready to do a big bookshelf speaker shootout, and always piles of headphones and more Bluetooth speakers and little DAC amplifiers that you plug into your phone and play your headphones through. And it's just this constant churn of stuff. So, and in my living room, actually my living room, you can't really tell, you can't see the whole thing, but it's set up for blind tests of DAC amplifiers because all my switcher and all my gear and stuff is right behind this couch, and my test subjects would sit on this couch so they couldn't see what I was doing. And then they had their headphones plugged in, and they had a little switch. Where's my switch? Little switch where they could just
nice.
And rip to them. I had them all level matched to within the fraction of a decibel, and they could sit there and compare all those DAC amps really easily. And then, we do them in batches of 4. So it's like this whole, and there's a table back there, and it's just a constant. And now I've got a pile of speakers over here that will be breaking in next time I leave the house, and 3 more coming, and I got to finish them before I leave just this constant churn. So when you do this for a living, it's just you don't get to enjoy it as much. Thank God for sound bars, because at least if I really want to watch a movie, I can throw together. I've got this Samsung.
Yeah.
I can't remember the model number. It's like $900. It's actually a really, really good sound bar. It's got a good subwoofer with it. I can throw this into the loop, and it actually has pretty good surround effects and all that. But it's a rare treat. I get to do surround speakers like once a year, and then I set them up a few other times the rest of the year. But I don't get to have the full experience that you're getting, sadly. And so but when I retire, I'll set up a decent
cost of
home
doing
theater.
business.
Yeah, it's a gig. It's like there's so many things. Like if you do it as your gig, then it's like when 8 o'clock rolls around, your first thought is not to set up more speakers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I know.
So
I fix cars for a living. I fix the paint on cars, and my work truck has a big scuff on the front bumper that somebody hit me, and I just don't feel like fixing it.
Yeah.
That's what I do all day long, is fix scuffs on bumpers, and the one on mine, I'm just like, I'll get to it later. Same thing. I get it.
Yep.
Hey, I know you can't stick around forever, so we
can talk about a couple more scenes here, because we're missing one of the really great scenes in this movie.
What's that? Go ahead.
The really, both for the cultural reference and for the sheer originality of it, is the Barrel of Monkeys.
Yeah.
That's really, I was watching that going like, oh, that's just crazy. It's just so, that's one of the things you watch these movies for. It's just so crazy and inventive, and the cultural reference is so funny. And I certainly had a Barrel of Monkeys. I think I had the big ones and the little ones. I had a bunch of them, and what the hell did you even do with those things? Because it's like, okay, you hook a bunch together, then what do you do?
I
don't even know, but everybody had them. So, but it's so in the scene. May I describe it?
Yes, please do.
So Iron Man goes. He's going to Air Force One to try to save the president, and so the bad guys like blow a hole in the plane, and a whole bunch of the president's staff gets sucked out. So they're all, flopping around like this. So Iron Man decides to save them, and then he asks Jarvis, like, how many of them can I carry? And Jarvis says 4. How many of them are there? Like 13. So he figures out how to get them to all grab hands, and then he like electrifies them so they, I guess, they can't open their grip.
Yeah.
And
wasn't that really cool on how they just dropped that line barely in there where, like, I think he said it. He goes, I'm just going to electrify your hand. You won't be able to let go. And it's like, it's a quick little line, but I heard it and you're like, that is just the thought of that.
Sense.
Like you said earlier, like doesn't it?
It gains a veneer of plausibility. And, and then he finally lands them all, in the water, still probably doing about 50 miles an hour or whatever, but he still kind of gets them all safely down into the water rather than them falling. And I just thought that was incredibly cool. And I got some nice, like, kind of, swirly stuff going on with this Samsung soundbar. Granted, one of the best soundbars you can buy. But with all kinds of, it's got pseudo Atmos. It's got Atmos, but it's also got pseudo Atmos for non-Atmos material like this. And
right,
I was like, God, this is really, you really kind of felt like you were falling with them. And I was like, that's a really inventive. It's another one where it's like they tried. I really felt like whoever. This is a Shane Black movie, right? He really like tried to not, because again, a lot of these movies, and I think, and honestly, some of the Star Wars stuff now too has a feeling of being a little bit cranked out, and this did not feel cranked out to me. It's like, it punches all the buttons that these movies have to punch, but I felt like they put some creative spirit into it. They didn't rush it. They definitely. They did a good job on this thing. I can't believe I'm saying this. So, but I just thought that was a great scene. And when you pointed it out, I'm like, that was probably my favorite part of the movie was that. And just watching like how he jumps out of there, and you go like, how's he gonna do? He's gonna do 4. Is he gonna like grab 4? Bring him down real fast, come back up and grab like this, but that's implausible. But the way they did it is actually a I mean, could you actually do that? Yeah, probably not. But it was not like just ridiculous. It wasn't like it wasn't like some guy jumps out of a plane and rolls on the ground and jumps back up, which occasionally happens in these kind of movies.
Yeah. No, that's why I noted it. I'm like, just the entire, like you said, even with your sound bar, it's like that the spinning and the panning and the sounds and going and the score. What I liked in this movie that I found in a lot of the scenes is the score set kind of like a sound foundation for your room. But then as there were things panning, like people screaming or explosions or things flying around, you had that going on just above the level of the score. So your room was fully engaged, like all the way through with the score, but then you had other stuff going on. I thought it was a very dynamic soundtrack throughout this movie that I just thought it was a lot of fun. And like you said, with that Barrel of Monkeys scene, it just was such a creative way to do an action scene too. And like you said, they tried to actually do something that hadn't been done and use the tech, meaning not just the Iron Man tech, but I mean like your surround sound tech, everything that goes into making these movies, the CGI, the sound mixing and everything, to really just have just some fun with the scene. And like you said, it's a throwaway line, but like he said it in fun. He's like, come on, barrel of monkeys, guys, let's go. And you just, like you said, it's somebody that played with a barrel of monkeys. And like you said, what did it mean? You just stood there as a kid with a bunch of monkeys hanging together. That was the game. And then you had to pick up another one. That's it. That was it. You know, it's like, that's what we found
never dawned on me
entertaining.
like what a kind of limited toy that was. But every kid had to have one, right? Everybody had one. Like I didn't know a kid that didn't have Legos and barrel of monkeys. But,
but at least Legos, you could be an engineer. You could build stuff.
Possibilities.
What are you
going to
be, a zookeeper with a barrel of monkeys?
I don't know. But yeah, Legos. The possibilities were. I mean, I learned a lot playing with Legos.
Yes,
but barrel of monkeys, I learned nothing from, and there wasn't even like a fun thing you could do with them, because a lot of times you get tired of a toy, and you figure something else out to do with it, like.
Right.
As you get older, maybe you stack them all up and shoot them with your BB gun or who knows what. But certainly what we always did. But it's like with like airplanes, I'd make model airplanes. I get sick of them and I'd like crash them. But what are you going to do with barrel of monkeys? You can't beat them up. They're solid plastic. They're pretty rugged,
And flat. They laid on their sides because of those hook arms that they had. So you could, like Army men, you could put up and try to shoot with a BB gun.
Yeah.
We did model planes and model boats. We filled little Ziploc bags with gasoline and put them inside, lit them on fire, and sent them out on a lake and watch the boats blow up and stuff.
Well, I didn't have access to a lake like that. That's pretty awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah, that was when we found out model glue, when it was wet, was flammable. So we would like that and push it off into the water and just wait for it to go boom. So
good idea. Yeah, we used the
don't try this at home, kids.
The Cox model airplane fuel, that when they had those little airplanes with the little tiny engines in them, because every kid had one of those things, and we could use that was our flammable. And thank God it wasn't real flammable. Like you'd light it and it would go on fire, but it wasn't like, probably very, very wisely formulated by whoever formulated that model airplane fuel. I don't think they have that stuff now. I mean, I know they have them for like adults, but I don't think they really sell that to kids now, do they? I have no idea. I don't have a kid.
Model airplane glue?
No, model airplane.
My son used model airplane glue.
The prop planes with the gas engine.
No. Yeah, no, my son didn't have that. I don't know if they had it. I didn't really get into that with him. That's a good question. I don't know.
So I'm trying to look at some other scenes on here that I liked. Of course, towards the end, you start to throw more Iron Man suits into the mix.
I like that scene at 1 hour, 42 minutes and 5 seconds, the Merry Christmas Buddy. And it's basically when I called it that because that's what Tony says to Rhodey, his buddy there. And he, like, when all the Iron Men show up, and I thought that scene between the sound and the HDR and the way that looked on the screen and the deep blue that the night sky was, and then all of those Iron Men showing up, and from like at first they're coming at you, and you just see these little specks in the sky like stars. And then the camera goes to looking at Tony and Rhodey. And now all of a sudden you find out those are the Iron Man suits and they all fly over you. So in the Atmos in my room, they shot right over me. And then of course they take up, around that whole dock area. This is when they're first approaching the dock. And it's just a great looking scene. And then you have like I said, the blue sky, the blue steel that's on the dock, that's making up most of the dock. But then you have the yellow railings, and the yellow against the blue just really pops.
Oh, I didn't notice
scene
that.
Just looks. Yeah. the scene just really, really popped, gave a real nice 3D feel to it because of those contrasting colors, and with the HDR, I was just like, oh, it looked so good. Never mind there was really good bass in the explosions here. There was explosions going on because now we're into the big battle at the end. I just thought that entire end scene there, it just looked so, so good. And it sounded fantastic.
It did.
Something a lot like that scene we talked about earlier.
Well, and I thought the setting was really good. By the way, my laptop's starting to run out of gas here, so if I drop off, it's been fun.
Don't worry.
But I love the setting where they did it on. It's like on a dock with a oil tanker, right? And because it gave them so many different things to run around on, and when you have so many different suits, so many different Iron Men doing stuff, it gave them a lot of different settings to do things. And I liked that the Iron Man, they had different kinds of Iron Man suits that had kind of their own personality. So it was, to me, less confusing than it was in Iron Man 2. And I just really, and just the fact that Tony could get in and out of these suits so quick, and that he could use them, he could strategize what he was going to do, in terms of like which suit he would be able to get into at what time and things like that. I thought the whole scene was well done. It's a lot of action, it's a lot of stuff being thrown on the screen, but it's pretty clear what's going on, and it really looked great. The whole night scene of it and stuff like that. I mean, because I have a certain fascination for like shipping and docks and container docks and things like that. Because we got them down here in LA, the biggest ones in the US at least. And it's just such a giant. You go down there and it's just like this unbelievable expanse of stuff, of all these cranes and boats and machinery and stuff, and then you look out on the water, and nowadays they're still backed up, so you get all these boats like out on the water waiting. It's just such a cool thing, and to have that setting, to me, is kind of evocative and exciting. But yes, it just gives you a great excuse to. It's like a jungle gym, basically, and
no, that's a great. It's a great analogy for that.
A lot of action possibilities. So they really, I guess, Shane Black, thought this thing through, and he's done a zillion movies. So they really thought this thing through. They didn't crank this. It sure didn't look like they cranked it out. It looked like they really put some work into it and did not take any shortcuts and didn't have the normal sort of like, eye rolling type of things. I don't think my eyes rolled even once during this. So,
wow,
that's really good for me because my eyes roll a lot. So, I'm shocked at how much I didn't hate this movie.
That should be on the back of the Blu-ray box. I'm shocked at how much I didn't hate it.
Well, if I was still writing
Brent
reviews
Butterworth.
of these things, then, but I haven't for a long. I think I used to do some for Sound and Vision. But they knew what I was going to do, and so they would pick and choose the things for me to review.
Right.
Usually things they thought I'd love or things they thought I'd hate, both of which I could write compellingly about. But
that's awesome.
I kind of missed that. That was kind of fun to do. And
well, let's do it more here.
Okay.
You can do it here.
Okay.
And I'm gonna let you pick the next one. Not right now, but we'll talk later. And
okay.
You're gonna pick the next movie. I'll do my review, send you the notes, and we'll do this again on a movie that you want me to see. How's that sound?
You've probably seen everything, right?
Maybe not. I don't know. So no, like maybe something. What's your dog's name? Missy?
Missy, yeah. Well, it was
Yeah,
quiet.
so
Missy
maybe
liked it.
something she would like.
There
you go. And quiet can be good in a home theater because if it's quiet but it's done well with sound, the quiet actually means something. So you pick it.
Well,
we'll
I mean,
we'll do that next time.
Apocalypse Now is one of my favorites, and it's mostly, except for one or two scenes, it's not loud. I have to think about that. I got a lot of movies I love, and I got
me too.
Mostly a lot of war movies, but also all the Quentin Tarantino stuff I love, and I'll have to think about it. I'll have to try to think of something that you might not have seen that also I could rewatch and and maybe revisit that I haven't seen in a while. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
And I could set up a surround sound system and actually do it right.
There you go. We got plenty of time, plenty of notice. We'll do it.
Cool.
Awesome. Brent, this has been what a way to start off the holiday season, because what a gift. We got you're dropping Robert Downey Jr. knowledge outside of the movie. That's fantastic. I mean, I didn't know I was going to get that when we talked months ago about doing this, isn't it? That's hysterical. That
funny story. Living in Malibu,
look on your face
living in Malibu.
Yeah. But the look on your face, like even you didn't know you were going to tell that story tonight. Because when you said it, you're like, "Oh my God, listen to this one!"
I totally forgot
I like
about
how you told me.
I totally forgot.
I like how you told me, and you don't know this one. Like, no kidding. Why would I know that one?
Good story, but that's something a lot of people don't know about Home Theater Magazine. We were, you'd see celebrities all over the place because we were right in the middle of Malibu. So every time you go have lunch, you'd see some celebrity, and
damn.
Every time, and they had a little movie theater there. We used to love to go to the movie theater there. That wasn't a great theater, but that's the theater all the celebrities went to when they just wanted to go see a movie.
Yeah,
because it was kind of small, low key, and in Malibu, people don't hassle with celebrities, and you'd see them. You'd see like Mel Gibson there. Just if he just wanted to go see a movie and didn't want to fool with the whole Hollywood thing, and you'd see him in the grocery store. You'd see him like all over the place, and it was fun. It was really it was neat to work in Malibu and have that, and the weather was always great, and a lot of good restaurants, and we had a great time. And my boss was very generous about letting me take my employees out to lunch, and we ate lunch all the time at Joffrey's, which is, if you've seen The Player, maybe.
While ago,
the Robert Altman movie. Well, there's a scene in there where Griffin, what's his name, Tim Robbins' character, goes on in this beautiful restaurant overlooking the water, and it's like a big patio, and he meets Burt Reynolds, and that's Joffrey's. It's just a spectacular restaurant, and we went there like just all the time, and it was what a fun time. That was a fun time. It was a lot of work because we did that whole magazine with like 4 or 5 people, but we had a lot of fun. We really had a lot of fun.
Awesome. Brent, this has been fantastic. You've brought so much to the table for Iron Man 3. This has been great.
Well, thanks, DJ. I had fun. Thanks for inspiring me to watch this movie. It was worth watching. I was really so pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, you didn't hate it. There we go.
Yeah.
And on that note, hey, everybody, thanks for listening. Have a great week. And go push play. Wow, what a whirlwind that was. I had so much fun. I hope you guys really enjoyed that. I hope you guys enjoyed the in-depth conversation that I wasn't really expecting. We talked a little bit. Brent and I talked beforehand, and we were like, yeah, we'll get through this. And he did have a time limit. He's got a bunch of stuff that he has to write. So thank you to Brent for taking the time and to talk about this. But I don't think he expected to be that enthusiastic about this, to be honest with you, because it was a lot of fun for me. Hope it was a lot of fun for you. Because we didn't get to all the scenes, I'm going to put all of the scenes in my show notes with the notes that I put down. So if you go to the show notes, you'll see everything there with the Christmas trees and everything, and the little notes underneath that I make, that so I know what to talk about. The one scene I would like to make, it's kind of funny if you read it, it's at the 8-minute mark. Turn on the TV, and Brent actually mentioned it a little bit, talking about how it was bad, bad picture, but it was supposed to be, and that was the point. And, in my reviews, that's one of the things I like to talk about, is how HDR can really show off the difference between old TVs and new TVs. And in this example here at the 8-minute mark, you're watching Ben Kingsley as the Mandarin, and it looks horrible. The HDR on the TV looks horrible on your screen because you're seeing the TV screen that doesn't have HDR. So it's very, all the shadows, everything's jet black, there's no detail, and it just looks bad. You can see resolution. And I thought, and you'll see in my notes, I thought it was just a fun example on how good displays look now, because when they go back to the regular part of the movie, you'll see how great the picture looks. And I thought that one was a lot of fun. But yeah, all of my notes that I took, they'll be in the show notes. So you can go over those. Any questions, let me know. We'll talk about them next week on Tuesday. Anything I wrote in the notes, you want to make fun of some of my typos because I typed them out fast while I'm watching the movie for the second, third time. But yeah, really enjoyed this movie. Obviously, you know me, I love these type of movies, and really enjoyed talking with Brent Butterworth. All of his information, all of his links are in the show notes as well. Highly recommend reading him. What a great guy. He's been so supportive of me. He's a lot of fun to talk to. Can't wait to have him back. So for the second time, I'm going to close out the show because it was such a whirlwind. I just closed the show out. I was having so much fun. But for the second time, guys, thank you all. Happy holidays to everybody. Thank you for listening. Really appreciate it. I will be back on Tuesday. But until then, go push play.
Hey, Fred. This has been a Hey Fred production with theme music by Jeff Bernhardt and Throne
for
Vault.
Those of you still listening, thank you very much for listening this long. And if you're listening this long, you know something big is coming up. For this month, for this week and the next 3 weeks after, so for 4 weeks in a row, I am going to be giving out a Blu-ray. All of them, let me see. Yes, they're all 4K Blu-rays. Culminating with a big one at the end, big giveaway at the end. So here's what happened for those of you that are still listening. Here's what happened. I rearranged my discs. All of my 4K discs are now on the shelf, and I reorganized them. I neatened them up, put them all in perfect alphabetical order. And lo and behold, is when you do something like that, you find a bunch that you have twice. Not everybody does this, but I did. I needed a movie. I wanted to see a movie, so I bought it. I couldn't find it, so I bought it. Well, guess what? I found them all. So this first one, it's not a big one, not a huge movie, but I did enjoy the movie. But if you would like a free copy, unopened, cellophane unopened, most of these, all but one, has the cellophane still on it. So I'll hold it up to the camera. There it is. The 4K version of Justice Society World War II DC Universe movie animated feature. If you'd like a copy of this, or like this copy, I only have one. This is the one. I only have this one here. So if you'd like this copy, all you got to do is be the first one to tweet at me or the first one to to email me. So you can tweet at me at @brightside_chat, at @brightsidehd. Oh, look at me getting all confused. Or you can just email me at brightsidehometheater@gmail.com. Just let me know that you heard this, that you would like me to mail this out to you, and I'll drop it in the mail for you. Just got to give me your address, and I will send this out anywhere you need to go. So I don't even care, anywhere in the world. I don't know what it costs to ship a DVD somewhere, but we'll get it done. All right. So thank you very much for listening. Another movie next week. So if you're hearing this now, make sure you listen to the end of next Friday's podcast or, YouTube video, and let me know. All right. Thank you very much. Happy holidays. We're giving out gifts.